Yeah, we're going live. All right, we're live right now. Hi, Facebook. All right. So, hello, everyone. We're on episode, I thought it was 30, but it's actually episode 31 of Thrive Talk Live with Phillip Cooper. I know you guys, most of actually today I get to introduce Phillip Cooper to the whole community because normally everybody that watches sort of knows each other. And Phillip is someone I met on Instagram, and now we're friends on Facebook. But he is definitely, as you see here, another agent of change, just like all of us on Circle of Champions. So I'm super excited to have him here and tell his story. But if by any chance this is the first time that you and I connect, my name is SARAI NAMMUR. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida and the founder of Trinity Community Mental Health Center and Circle of Champions Worldwide, where many of you are part of. So today we have here change agent Cooper, Phillip Cooper, and he is a father of 5. He is a health community. Wait, hold on. I want to say this right. Health. What does it say it again? I can't even say it right.
Community health worker.
Community health worker. That's what it is. Community health worker. To me, he's like an advocate for like we talked earlier, and he's an advocate for so many people in need. And he has a lot of big dreams and big goals. And like all of us that do things to help others and we're champions, he also has the backstory, which is usually the thing that causes us, the passion to do what we do. Which is part of the reason why I do Thrive Talk. So if you're new on here as well, I want to explain the reason why I do Thrive Talk is to bring the positive stories, the stories of people, which is I think it's the majority of the stories, except for we don't get a lot of the news on that. So Thrive Talk is to bring the positive news, the positive story, the story of overcoming, the story of people who overcome whatever they're going through, and they turn that into they repurpose that and turn it into their passion and into their purpose, and they help others. So that is who Change Agent Cooper is. So did I miss anything? Change Agent Cooper. What else can we say?
Man of God, husband, father, change agent. In that
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's start introducing you a little bit. So was it always like this for you, or where does your passion come from?
My passion comes from so it's 3 P's: pain, prayer, and perseverance. That's where it all come from. But for the most part, my passion, I've always been a go-getter. My whole life, I've been a go-getter. I always try to outdo people. I've always competed. I never felt like I fit in. So I felt like I always had to go over and beyond. And after having to do that for so long, I just got this nature about myself to where like I always go hard. I'm passionate about hard work. Whatever I do, I'm trying to be the best me and make sure that I'm irreplaceable.
Okay, that's such a great point that I'm gonna get back at, because what you're really saying there is you have very strong work ethic and you have very high standards for yourself. Yeah. So that is, have you always had very high standards for yourself, or is that something you developed?
Well, I think I didn't always have high standards for myself. So like whenever me and my mom first moved to the hood when I was younger, I was a follower. And so at that point in time, the highest standard that I had was those that was around me in the hood. And so right. it wasn't until like whenever so I started getting out of control. My mama sent me to stay with my daddy, right? And so when I went to stay with my daddy, that's when I started being around a different socioeconomic status of people. You feel me?
Okay.
So once I left away from the hood, then I seen different standards that were in existence that I was not aware of. And so it was at that point in time to where I started to raise the bar. But at first, I had a very low standard, and it was mostly because of peer pressure and really just a lack of awareness, a lack of experience with other folks.
So when you moved away from, so you when you were with your mom, you're saying you lived in the hood, and then you ended up moving with your dad, and that was like a higher like socioeconomic status. Is that what you're saying? And
Yeah, yeah,
is that's where you got exposed to something different that it helped you to raise your standard? That's what you mean?
exactly. Because I started being around different people. I started being around people who had different goals. You know, initially, like I remember when I was in the hood, like there was times where I would get picked on for being the school boy, right? I was the one that was still going to, the high school. Everybody else was in what they call the alternative school, the school where the kids that had behavioral challenges were at, right? And then they would
Right.
be a little bit and they would drop out. But I was the one from the crew that happened to still be, in high school. And I can remember even then, like getting picked on because I was smart. You know, you would think that a person would be congratulated for being smart, but I got to the point to where he was like, "Man, why I got to be the smart one, right?" Because of the people that I was always around.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Yeah, like in middle school, I get that completely. In middle school, it was embarrassing to say if you had good grades. You had to pretend like, no, I'm hard. I have a D. I have a D. I have an F. That makes me hard.
Yeah.
so so that was like during middle school and all of that. And then where does your heart come from as far as like wanting to help people and do what you do? Like where does that part come from?
So it really, a lot of it was from like prison. So whenever I did go to prison, now prior to going to prison, I remember people that was trying to pour into my spirit and that were trying to help me, that were trying to encourage me, but I wasn't ready to hear that yet because I was still so in that environment. But when
Right.
I was in prison and I got out, and I remember the impact that the people that was trying to help me, well, I remember how they treated me and what it took for me to be successful. At that point in time, I wanted to do the same thing they did for me for others. Man, I'm
Right.
passionate about people getting out of prison because I know that prison saved my life. Like I know it can sound crazy because some people are about abolishing prisons and everything like that, but prison saved my life, and so it saved my life because I felt the pain that was needed. I attended the self-help classes in there, but when I got out, I had people that was assisting, and so when I seen what was missing in a lot of people's lives when they got out, I couldn't help but fill the gap, and so I believe that's where it comes from, is just because of my lived experience with receiving the needed services. And now I'm like, everybody got to get it. If they don't get it, it ain't right. And I can't sleep if they don't get it.
Yeah, so I like how you said that because you're saying basically prison, which is thought of as something negative, it ended up being a blessing for you. So it ended up being something. It was like a hard stop for you. It sounds like, and but in prison you made a choice to do something about the self help because not every I imagine not everyone does that. I imagine self help, that is what you're talking about. The self help groups is there for everyone, but is that correct what I'm saying? Is it available and you just made the choice to use it?
That part. So so I'm a spiritual man. So I do want to give honor what honor is due, So praise God for my redemption. But I had a praying mama, praying aunties, a praying daddy. And I know when they were going to church, it was like when it was prayer call, they was probably like, pray for my son, he in prison, y'all pray for him. So I know that prayer, the power of God, had an impact on me. But I will say
Yeah.
it is a choice, because there are some people that when they're in prison, there's trouble for people to get into in there as well. Because when I was
Yeah.
because when I was in prison, I got in trouble for like my first year. Now my last 2 years and some change, I was behaving. But for that first year, I was gang banging, I was selling cigarettes, smoking weed. I was doing all the things, running a number board. You know what I'm saying, like the lottery.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So I was
Yeah, I
doing
get you.
yeah, I was doing all the things. So it's definitely a choice. But those classes are available for anybody that wants to take them. But that peer pressure, it's really about what type of man a person is inside. Because see, when you off the streets and you ain't got that pistol on you and you in there, you get to really see what kind of man you are. And there's some
Right.
people who are just sheep. When they get inside the prison, they get inside the prison, and that peer pressure is even worse for them.
Mm. Wow. Okay. So far you've made like three really awesome points of if people, like, there's people that say, I want to change my life, but I don't know how, or I'm in this problem or in this mess and I don't know how to get out of it. But you've already made, like, we're only like probably 10 minutes in or 15 minutes in, and you've already made 3 really good points. So the first point that you made was that you ended up having high standards for yourself, and whatever you did, you wanted to do it with excellence, or you wanted to do it like really, really, really great. And so I think that probably had a lot of impact on you. The other thing you said is that you're a man of God, and that your family is your mom, your aunties, everyone, they're people of faith, and they pray for you. So that faith also helped you. And then the last thing you're saying is that you as ultimately made a choice for yourself. And I think those 3 points, and I'm sure you have way more points than that, but just those 3 points alone could change anybody's life watching right now. Like, anybody watching right now, those you implemented increasing your standards for yourself, having a higher standard for yourself, your life, your vision, what you expect, having faith, and making positive choices for yourself. Those 3 things, you start exercising them right now, 2021 alone will start completely different. Do you feel like those 3 things are the main things that had the biggest impact on you and on your transformation?
So family, faith, I guess I could include, because see, I'm a heavy believer in iron sharpens iron. So like a support network of people, my squad.
Yeah.
I have to loop them in. I guess I can kind of loop them in there with family, because all family ain't blood, right?
Right.
All ain't blood, Ken. So I would say family, God, and then that resilience from within. Yes, ma'am. I would say those 3.
Perseverance too, it sounds like, perseverance as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Perseverance first, everything.
So here you are in prison. First you're in, I'm sure you're pissed off. I'm sure you're like just pissed off, and you're just going at it the same way you were going in. You went at it that way. Yeah. And then what do you feel is the pivot? Like, where in prison, when you're in prison, and you were still doing the same things. Well, what happened that made you say, what made you pivot?
Well, so while I was in prison, one thing I learned was this lingo. Not young, but people who have been doing time for a while, they meet a younger guy like myself come in, and they like to mentor. That's why mentoring is, I hold dear to my heart. That's why I'm so passionate about it. So like, there's a guy in there who ain't out. Some of them guys, they've been in there for long periods of time, and they find their purpose in life by like mentoring guys who coming in, they get to go back home to their families, right? And so I remember I had went to the hole, and the old timers, they call that going to jail. How you gonna go to jail while you in jail, right? And so and I remember I went to the hole one time. I was in there for almost 2 months, and when I was in there, man, I was broken, and I felt like I was the lowest. I was at a very low point in my life. I remember at that point in time, some people had shots at my daughter's mom's house. It was some things that had occurred while I was in the hole. The girl that I was with at that time, she who I thought I was with, whatever you call what we was doing, but she got pregnant by somebody else. So I had these different things coming at me, and it was while I was sitting in the hole, and I'm thinking to myself, this can't be life, And the only thing that I could draw on to give me peace, to give me comfort, to give me some perseverance was when I cried out to God, and I said, God, help me. I don't know what I'm doing. This ain't it. Help. And it was like I had a spiritual awakening while I was in segregation. And when I got out, I told myself I wasn't gonna smoke no more when I had got out. So I stopped smoking weed. I stopped doing all the other stuff. I started hanging by myself more often. I wasn't hanging with the gang on the yard. They thought I was acting funny, but that was another unique experience I had in there whenever I started walking the right path, right? And so it was that experience when I went to the hole that I said, you know what? This ain't how I'm finna live no more.
Man, that's powerful, because we're talking about like Thrive story, but now a Thrive talk and your Thrive story, but now you're giving a whole like Thrive testimony, like, because that's the whole purpose of pain. The whole purpose of pain is for you to discover your weakness and God's strength. And you're describing that like beautifully. And it's almost like I'm very visual. So you're telling your story and I'm seeing a movie happen. And I'm imagining that, the first hard stop was prison, but then it was like, okay, wait, that's not enough. So now you got to go in the hole. Now you got to go to prison, prison. And so and then that's where, like, listen to what you just said. It's so powerful. Like you're saying, that's where you discovered God and you had that whole epiphany and the revelation and all of that. And then that's where things started to change for you. That is so, I wasn't even thinking I was going to get that from you today, but that's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah, I'm an open book, man, because like, my credentials, like people use that terminology, school of hard knocks, loosely, but hear me, my credentials are from lived experience for the most part. I was able to, when I got out of prison, I went back and got me a 2-year degree, and I started taking some stabs at a bachelor's degree before I ended up in this work that I'm doing now, and my career started doing well before I got my bachelor's. So most of my experience and everything, and the rooms that I've been able to enter it has been off of my lived experience and my ability to navigate systems. So me being an open book, that's what I do. SARAI.
You said my name right since the beginning, since earlier today. Yeah. So then you had that whole transfer, that experience in prison, and that's where all that happened. And then you started your walk and you started your transformation. And then how many years until you came out of prison after that?
So I did a total of 3 years and 4 months. And so whenever I got out of prison, I had my mind made up. I had my mind made up because I was even mentoring some guys, believe it or not, when I was in prison, because that's the kind of person I am. You can't tell me it's a sale at JCPenney without me letting somebody else know. When it's something good, when I get something good, I'm gonna pass it on to somebody else. And so good. As I getting mentored, it was preparing me to mentor other people. And that's the way I found peace in prison, because it was like, this was my purpose. It was similar to those guys who had all of that time, and their purpose was mentoring people like me that was coming in, that was going to get to go back home. And so I started doing the same thing with some of these younger guys, because it's a lot of guys that come from fatherless homes, and the sense that I had and the time that I was willing to spend with people and just talk about real life stuff. They wasn't used to that. It's a lot of maniacs in prison. Like, to be honest with you, it's a lot of people that ain't had nobody to have no conversation to try to heal from no trauma, or to talk about, really what it feels like to miss your kids, what it feels like to be going through what you're going through. And so that's where I found my purpose. So when I got out of prison, I went straight into human services field before the degree. One of my first jobs when I got out of prison was working at a detox and crisis stabilization unit as a behavioral health tech. And I was rocking and rolling, SARAI. I'm telling you, like, I was ready. I had made my mind up that I was never going back to prison. And I still feel that way today.
And I love that. I love that, because what you're saying is you actually found your purpose by serving others. Yep. That is like super, like everything you're saying is super powerful. You found your purpose. Well, you discovered, you had that transformation and that experience with God in your worst moment. And then you started serving others, and that's how you found your purpose. Like that, I get excited with these things. So I get really excited about this. Why I do this, because most of us find our purpose in that way. We find our purpose by serving others. At least the people that I seem to attract are people that want to serve. And we sort of, it's almost a selfish thing to do, because we get so much more out of it. And it's really, really, really powerful. And then you started serving others. And why don't you tell us a little bit about like how you're doing that now? Because you told me a lot of things that you're doing now, and it sounds like, man, it sounds like a lot. It sounds like you are really like, you're serving at a very high level. You're very busy serving all the time. So how do you do self-care, and like how are you serving right now?
So thank you for mentioning self-care. This is very important. There you go with your counselor hat on. But But that's something that I'm constantly having to remember to practice is self-care, because the work is fulfilling and it's my purpose-driven work. So I can get excited, and it can even be like a drug at times. But the work that I'm doing right now, like I say, I was doing when I was before I was doing the substance use disorder counselor and doing that addiction counseling, right? And then I got burnt out because I go hard. Whatever I do, I go hard. And then that work, you when you go real hard in that frontline crisis stabilization work, you end up having to take a chill from the work. And that's how I got into doing the prison reentry work, in which, a lot of advocacy, getting people that are returning from incarceration into living wage jobs that will give them a skill or a trade. And so there was a lot of advocacy related to that, a lot of connecting with people, mentoring people and connecting them to resources. And then the advocacy went to another level. See, it started at workforce development, but it couldn't stop there. You feel me? Because then I started having people that I'm working with, they got out of prison, they got a good job, they doing good, they living in a halfway house, now they ready to get their own place to stay. But anybody, people with a background, one of the things that they struggle with getting is what? Somebody to rent to them. So then came advocacy for the housing, and then came more advocacy for changing food stamp policy, and then came advocacy for driver's license restoration. So what has ended up happening, SARAI, is the brother went from workforce development to just being a full-fledged advocate, reentry expert who is fighting for people who have served their time, paid their debt to society, and are ready to participate in the economic mainstream because they deserve to. And so a lot of the work that I'm doing, thank you for getting me fired up at 8:16. But
that's awesome. You're needed. Like, you are so needed for so many people. And you know how many kids depend on you too? Think about this. Like, you know how many kids depend on you to help their parent so that they could have a better life? Because that parent comes out and they, you come out, and I'm not saying everyone's like this, but I think for the most part, a lot of people want to come and like connect with their kids again and do good for their kids. So you're actually not just helping that person who's coming out, the adult, you're helping the kids that are needing their dad or their mom or whatever it is. So, I mean, I think you're doing like a really, really amazing, needed human service work, like big time. I love it. So for people watching and they feel like, let's say they feel they're in the hole, maybe the way that you may have felt a long time ago, what would you say to them as far as giving them hope to change and to transform their own life?
Well, first and foremost, if a person is watching this, then they're seeking power. They're seeking something. So keep that same seeking energy, and you have to seek support and get connected with a mentor, with a recovery coach, with a therapist, with a sponsor, with someone who is stable and who is full of that juice. That juice is what I call that proven track record in success, or with that have a testimony, and get connected with people like that, who you can talk to about your issues, who can be that sounding board, who can turn around and give you some guidance, who can pray for you, right? Or be there consistently. Don't do it by yourself. Get you a fired up change agent, because as SARAI said, a lot of us, we get fired up to help people because we have a story already. So get people who have a story, who want to see you win, just because seeing people win makes them win again and again, right? And it's very important that we connect with those kind of people, because people like myself, we get charged up by helping people. It's our purpose. So if you don't feel like you have hope, then I understand. You will survive those emotions. The next thing you have to do is get plugged in with somebody who is lit. If you don't know nobody who is lit at all, then I would challenge you to find. I know in my area we have these 1-800 warm lines, ways to call, and they have people like the suicide prevention lines. Right. Call one of them lines. Just say, look, I'm stressed out, and I heard this loud guy from North Carolina with a country accent, and he said that I needed to call a line because I was stressed. So I'm calling because he sounded like he knew what the hell he was talking about. At that point in time, they're going to say, well, talk to me about your problem. What's going on? How can we help? And then just load them up. Let it all out. I'm talking about let it all out. And then let them give you some resources. Let them give you some resources. And as you continue to take advantage of those resources, you start running into those people like us who are fired up for helping people.
Exactly. Exactly. I love the energy. Jareem says amen. Jareem is from our tribe, from Circle of Champions Worldwide, and he is waking up right now at 4 a.m. to watch us. So
wow. What's up, Jareem?
Jareem is like my brother, my friend. Like, Jareem, 2 mornings in a row you're waking up early. So he said amen. So also I want to remind everyone that in most of all the stories that we have here on Thrive Talk, notice how over and over again there's a pattern, and you're number 31. So out of all these stories, the pattern is that it's in your darkest moments that you find the answer. So we're afraid of the darkest moments because it's our most painful moments, but pain serves a purpose, and that we need to get to that, like, you know, that rock bottom that they call, but rock bottom isn't only addiction. Rock bottom means, you know, different things in life that happen, and it's in that rock bottom where we, you know, it truly is in that rock bottom where we become super spiritual and start asking God for answers. You know, that's when it's there, or we turn inward and we stop like looking on the outside and we start like just searching inside to our spirit, to God, you know, that type of thing. And that's where you find the answers. So don't be so afraid, because a lot of times we avoid those rock bottoms and we avoid facing pain and we avoid things, but we need to face those things so we could discover who we really are. And you said iron sharpens iron, but sometimes, you know, sometimes rough moments sharpens us too. Like, that's where we get sharpened up too. So that's you know, and our talk has been very little because a lot of times our talk is very, very long, but you gave so much information, like points in your story, and your story is so powerful that I'm going to go over the points all over again. Craig says positive mentors and coaches definitely needed in today's world for our daily growth. Amen. Absolutely. And one thing that you said, I don't know if you know if you've heard of the growth mindset, but with the growth mindset, one of the biggest points of it is to always find your support. And like you said, sometimes our support is in blood, and sometimes our support is in our spouses. And that doesn't mean something, you know, that simply means that's not what they do. And sometimes our support is our community and our tribe. And that's why we have this. So we definitely have to have support. It's much harder and it takes much longer to go at it alone, because sometimes the person that's outside of you could see your blind spot. Yep. And remind you of your purpose. Because sometimes when we're down in the gutter, we forget our purpose. We forget what we're aiming for because we're not feeling right in that moment. And we need someone to slap us around, you know, slap us and say, you know, what's wrong with you? Like, you remember what you said last week? Let me remind you of what you said. So we do need all that. So I want to go back and just like, I've been typing all your points, and another point that you made, or for anyone who chimed in here at the end, your points were that your faith was very, very strong, having high standards, making a choice in prison to turn towards the things that were going to help you grow and help you walk out of there a better man. And you chose that at some point, and look at what has happened. You deciding that has caused you to have a ripple effect, because then you started helping people in prison, and now it's become your life purpose where you're helping so many more people. And like I said earlier, you're not just helping that person, but then that person's going to have a ripple effect as well, and it's all comes from you. And that in itself is a major lesson, because a lot of times we think, oh, what could I do? What could one person do? But in your story, look at what the impact that you've had in your story, and look at how many, even either across people and across generations, what you're doing is going to have major, major ripple effects, and it's already having ripple effects. The other point was about iron sharpens iron, and being around the right people, going hard at it, and having a purpose in your life. So your purpose is mentorship, and mentorship is what has changed everything for you. So that is, did I miss anything right there? Did I miss anything on everything you said?
I think you covered it pretty good. You must have been typing fast. You was getting it in. How many words per minute you typing over there? You thrive typing in that mug.
And you said something awesome. You said you changed, you said you found your purpose through serving others, which is, I really love that. That's the second time I mentioned that, because somebody needs to type that up. Like that was, I love that part, because I'm all about serving others, and I know you are too. Is there anything else you would like to add and let people know about you?
Well, you know, the biggest piece is, you know, is just that pain, the prayer, and perseverance, man, and it continues to go. You know, I feel like God gave me a tool called recovery, because I'm in long-term recovery from substance use disorder, and I believe that God gave me recovery as a tool for discipleship. And discipleship ain't just me discipling people, but it's also me being discipled. In recovery, we call it sponsor and sponsees, right? And and
Right.
and so one of the things we say, and y'all probably got those fellowships down there. They're anonymous fellowships, so I ain't gonna say
Yeah.
names. But some of the lingo, it says the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel, right? It talks about this. It says our gratitude speaks when we care and we share, right? So a grateful addict will not use. Gratitude is an action. So gratitude looks like me helping someone, giving what was freely given to me to someone else. And so I
I love
continue
that.
to find my purpose in serving others, and I find my peace in serving others. Sometimes when I don't want to answer the phone, I answer that phone because I remember there was a time when I was going through something. I was going through hell on earth, and I had somebody I could call, open up to, and they was there for me, and they participated in my healing. And now I owe that to the next man. And that's why I do it. That's exactly why I do it, because it's my purpose-driven life. Like the book I read by Rick Warren. I read that when I was in prison. And I remember he was talking about, you know, this purpose. And my life experiences has led me to this point. It has led me to this point, and I'm gonna do this until I die. I'm gonna be an old
Mm.
a wheelchair eating jello, scolding the nurse that's about to come in here and change my diaper.
Oh man, that's a prophecy, and you put yourself on a wheelchair. Why'd you put yourself on a wheelchair?
If I'm gonna be 122 years old. I better
Oh, that's why. That's why.
122.
Hey, LaShawn. LaShawn says, you find your change through serving others. Love that. LaShawn, you're up next week, by the way. That's awesome. You know, another thing you said right now that was so, like, another that I didn't mention. So I do Thrive Talk too, because I want everyone to know I'm a therapist, but before being a therapist, I'm an overcomer as well. And you do not have to be a therapist to have impact in people's lives. You do not have to be a therapist to have impact in people's lives. Your story and just your heart and your love for others is enough to have that ripple effect, and it's enough to have the impact that people need. Just you showing someone that you care enough, like what you just said, to answer the phone and just listen to someone, just that alone will let someone know, you know, you never know what people are going through. Someone might be wanting to take their life today, but because you answered the phone and you paid a little bit attention to them, they decided not to do that. And there's so many stories like that that I hear, that just because one person cared enough to answer the phone or to say, you know, how are you today? And really hear the answer made such a big difference on someone's life that they didn't take their life. So everyone that I bring, I rarely bring a therapist on here, by the way. It's usually people just like you, and just people who have overcome and through their story and through what they've learned. And by what you just said, living a purpose-driven life, they're causing major, major impact and ripple effects. And I know you want to go to a higher level. I know you want to impact way more people. And you just told me you want to start doing interviews and stuff like that. So where's your vision for that? Like, where do you see yourself going forward? In a year from now, where am I going to see Phillip Cooper?
Hey man, ain't no telling what God got going on. This pandemic has provided some opportunities for people to really see my work. Cause see, in my area, it's a lot of them, you know, how the politics go. And so sometimes, you know, the politics can really keep people from seeing who's doing what. But this pandemic, it came in and it revealed who wasn't doing nothing and who was doing something. So you might see me, speaking somewhere, motivational speaking, of course. But as far as I started a company, and I'm doing I do third-party recruiting and mentoring for the people I recruit, and I've been specializing in working with those companies who are wanting to be intentional about investing in diversity recruiting. Because where I live at here in Western North Carolina, we're not the blackest city ever seen. But there are black people here who miss the mark because they're not in those networks. And most jobs they hire from their networks. And so here comes my company, Higher Powered WNC, that's going to be bridging the gap. And so I see that a year from now, my own company booming. I'll probably still be working at this one job that I'm about to take full time, because in that job I'm going to be able to serve the community at a higher capacity as an economic and a workforce and economic development director. So in that, I'm going to at least commit to that job 2 to 3 years, and my company's still going to do its thing, though. You feel me? It's still going to. So you say a year from now, I'll be thriving as a workforce and economic development director, and Higher Powered WNC. I'll be funneling these folks into these job opportunities that they wouldn't know about if it was existence.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in a year from now, you're going to cause major more ripple effects in what you're already causing. Awesome.
Oh, let's go.
You're too excited. I love it. I love that energy. So exciting.
Remember I told you. So whenever I run my groups, so I had a men's group that I do on Thursdays. And so from 6:30 to 7:30, you got to understand, and it's all of us in there are doing the work. So when we come together and we praying and we got a topic, like the topic tonight was mentoring. And so we come in there and we get charged up, and I'm excited usually when I leave from that group. And then I'm excited to be on here talking about my story, because as I tell you my story, I'm reminiscing about how God has worked in my life. And I can't do that without passion.
Yes, I know. And you're blessing us with that story too, because you're revealing it to us too. As you have a revelation, you're causing a revelation for us too. You understand? You're telling me it, and if you're visual like me, I'm seeing this. I'm not hearing it. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it happen. I saw you in that jail, in the jail of the jail, just asking God, what is happening? What is happening? I saw it happen. I saw him speak to you. I saw you have that revelation. So that's really amazing. And that's what the Bible says. The Bible doesn't promise you're not going to go through pain. It says it's there so you could get closer to me, and I could be your strength, and your testimony is proving that. So that's I didn't know that's where we were going to go, but that's where we went.
You got it, SARAI. You got it.
That's funny. Did you tell that guy that you met someone from Miami, the Hope guy?
Man, I need to text him, man, because he got the Hope for Miami, man. His name Rick Sawyer, man. Good guy, man. Man of God. Yeah. Back up this way, man. Matter of fact, I got to send him the link so he can watch the show. But he's solid.
I'll send you the link. I'll send you the YouTube link as soon as we're off of here. Well, so how could people connect with you? How could people connect with you and talk to you and all that? Tell everyone where they can find you.
So I ain't gonna lie, man. I've been super stretched these days, and everything I do is scheduled. But I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn, Change Agent Cooper. Facebook, Change Agent Cooper. I got to delete some people, though, because I done hit 5,000 friends, and so it won't let me bring new friends in. Facebook be tripping. But
I know.
I'm on Instagram. It's Change Agent Cooper. And then, if you want to book me for a speaking engagement or something like that, we can just do that via message on either one of those. I did have a website, but I stopped keeping up with it because during the pandemic, it's been so many opportunities to where somebody's like, you got a website? I'm like, no, I got a LinkedIn, because I for real, I haven't needed a website. I've been legit doing everything from LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. It's crazy.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's where I found you. I found you on Instagram.
See? Yep. So
that whole change agent thing is what caught me. Well, all right. So I'm gonna say goodnight to everyone. And I don't know if you want to leave them with any other nuggets. You mean you dropped 15 already, but
I guess.
Well, that was.
Just start since you asked. I'm gonna say this for the people that's listening. If I'm gonna go back to what you had when SARAI had said, if somebody was on here and they was feeling hopeless, I want to reiterate that if you're feeling hopeless and you're in a dark place, I want you to find whatever area you are in, what is the 1-800 number, helpline, hotline, warm line, whatever kind of line they have. I want you to call them and pour out and get some resources. Do not go through it by yourself. Do not try to go through this by yourself. It is not meant to be that way. Any person who has thrived after the pain had somebody to reach out to who could help them get out of that place. So you don't have to go through it by yourself. We didn't go through it by ourselves. We are waiting for people like you to reach out to us because we feel it's our purpose. So don't feel like you're a nuisance. Don't feel like you're pestering. Just look at yourself as a blessing to us to be able to help you.
Exactly. I love that. I love that. And I'm gonna let you go with Jareem. He says, brother, your story is amazing, and I can tell you are on the right path. I'm glad you have turned a negative into a positive, and that is going to impact positively into many lives. God is good. Yay, Jareem. He ended it good. He dropped the mic. Well, everyone, good night, everyone. Thank you for being here. If you want to come on the show and tell your story, just DM me and we will talk about it. Good night to everyone. I hope you got blessed by this awesome story. Give me 1 second. Don't leave.